Hey, you. On Veterans Day, I think we should maybe make it a national norm to say, hey, how do you feel about your service? I know it takes a little bit more syllables, but the thank yous, I appreciate the sentiment, and if you're thanking me for being willing to serve, great. I felt called. I felt obligated to do it to begin with, in a way. Ever since I was a child. So it was a fulfillment, really, of my lifelong dreams, in a way. But if you're thanking me for what I actually did during my service, we've got an issue. I actually called my interpreter today and kind of asked him if he feels like he made the right choice. He's living in New York, upstate New York, with his wife, 3 kids, supporting them, supporting his father and mother, who are in Afghanistan still, because his father, who had been a police chief for 40 years or something, lost everything. We destabilized 2 countries, and we made Halliburton, we made Dick Cheney a lot of money. That's about all I can think of. So, thank you for paying your taxes. Thank you for the sentiment. Let's question the narrative, if we may, please, because the thank you for your service and treating me like I stormed Normandy means that next year we'll have some excuse to go after Iran, which they're already pushing Trump for, and he refused to do his first time around. So, how do you feel about your service, Jason? Well, I actually armed 3 provinces in Afghanistan, and we imported democracy in a way that they didn't really want. We had a province that worked perfect. It was exactly what it was supposed to be doing. The national level ANP chief, police chief, was keeping order and refusing to play tribal politic games, and the Afghan local police chief was treating his men like whatever. I looked him in the eye and I said, we're going to support you. I'm going to arm you. Here are some vests. Here are some vehicles. And that man, after the stability was working, the Shura came together and voted, and they voted that man out because they were like, this guy isn't playing games. He's not playing favors. He's not doing the way we're supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. And within a week, my boy's son was killed because he had his dad's truck was driving on. I thought it was his dad, and then his dad was killed shortly after. IEDs, both of them, In Iraq, so I armed 3 provinces in Afghanistan. Like, that was what I was one of 4 that worked out the logistics issues to try to figure out how to get these Afghan local police to stabilize their own villages. 2011. So, could have told you exactly what would have happened 9 years later. I'm not surprised. In Iraq, I was one of every 3 or 4 trucks were actually third country national Kellogg Brown and Root contracted drivers. So Dick Cheney's pet company was given a no-bid contract and had drawn up plans and actually been created as a company to rebuild Iraq back in the Gulf War time in 91. And he had stepped out from Secretary of Defense, paying them $7 million to figure out how to interweave contractors into the U.S. military, because of an all-volunteer force can't handle logistics of rebuilding Iraq. So they were created to, have the oil infrastructure, have the oil and technology, have the logistics capacities, have all the things that we needed. So I got to be a part of his company with just enough green on my hood to make you think it was the Army, And we had more mileage in Iraq than any other truck battalion. The entirety of the Operation Iraqi Freedom until like the very end, when somebody beat us by like 12 or 20 miles allegedly. But it wasn't Wild Wild West days, 2004, 2005. Back when they still had the lie of the weapons of mass destruction. They hadn't called that off, which they did while I was there. And we had given them their first electoral vote, and I was on the roads during that. almost being killed. So the service I rendered isn't what I imagined. A constitution requires a declaration of war by Congress, and I defended the Constitution. That's what I vowed to defend. Vowed to defend the Constitution. I vowed to defend the Constitution. I vowed to defend. Not, I'm going to go over and make Dick Cheney a lot of money. I'm not. I'm going to go flex NATO's muscle. I'm going to go capture their war market. I'm going to go implement our way of life, impose it upon an uninterested population. Those are the things that come up for me when you thank me, that I want to clarify. And you don't have 6 minutes. So I usually just say, thank you for paying your taxes.